everyone. This is Sam Yakel-Zerwin from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the Assistant Director of the Texas Short Film Festival. Right now we're gearing up for our Fall 2023 screening, which is going to take place on October 14th at the Slab Cinema Arthouse Theater in San Antonio, Texas. And today we are talking with the team behind Who Invited the Robots? Thank you all for being here today. And can we go around and do some names and some credits? Because I know you guys were involved in multiple facets of this film.
Yep. Go ahead.
My name is Jack Schneiderman. We have done some other short films, mostly almost music video style, like no words.
What facets of the project did you do? Like editing?
But yeah, on this one, this was our first actual film with actors and all that. So on this one, we kind of found our own roles. I pretty much was on the technical side. I do pretty much cinematography and sound design.
Excellent.
Yeah. Hi there. My name is Dan Rathke. I play Adam, and then also wrote the story, casting. I was the casting director, producer. Helped out in any way I could as far as on the post-production side. So that's kind of at least what the areas I covered.
I'm Todd Wallace. Mostly did most of the camera work and a lot of post-production. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Excellent. Well, I love the collaborative energy with you guys. And so let's jump into this. I just watched Who Invited the Robots to prepare, and I'm still unnerved. I want to know what inspired this film.
Yeah, I would say as far as, the biggest thing in how we a lot of times approach our films, or more so story-wise, we look at things as far as real-life scenarios that everyone can sort of relate to. And especially too, where in this situation of a lot of times where you're dating someone, so you're with your partner, and there's always that stage where, okay, your partner wants you to meet their friends. And it's usually, it's kind of that interesting moment when I've talked to friends, experienced it myself, observed it from the outside, and talked to strangers. And majority will say that's more nerve-wracking versus meeting their parents. And especially too for people who are definitely not me, but there are people who are introverts or people who get anxiety. They're not a big group type people. Right. So kind of encompassed all of that feeling and everything of that particular kind of moment. But then just doing something completely outrageous and crazy and just adding that all kind of mixed in kind of thing.
Totally.
Yeah, we like to take scenarios that I think a lot of people can relate to. I've been in that situation, or I've come across that. But we like to put a twist on it, or a surprise ending, if you will.
Not like M. Night Shyamalan. There's a difference, as far as when we were talking about twists. They're not that extreme.
Yeah, right. Just make it different, but also familiar that people can relate to.
Totally. Yeah. What about you, Jack?
Well, really, Dan came up with most of the story. I just kind of went ahead and started going on the script after his outline. Okay. I just took everything he said, and we kind of just went as a team. We'd go out to some breweries and just start writing.
Yeah.
And when we actually had a table read, we actually invited the cast to we kind of broke the whole thing down and just had them add whatever elements they thought of and their experiences, and kind of just almost rewrote the whole script based on the cast.
Very cool. Well, it seems like something really important to this production is an element of grand collaboration.
Yes.
Not only are you all, co-directors, co-writers working with multiple hats, but getting the cast involved, that's really cool. What was that process like? Was it easy to let go and allow in other voices, or is it tough?
No, actually, all three of us were really big on feedback, and even us as an individual, as far as outside of, as far as for the film production. But no, I think, and especially to the way we were approaching the project and how we wrote it, we knew that it was missing something. But at the time we were okay, we were happy with it enough to go and get ready to film, or at least present it with our cast, and then they can read through it and everything. And what was great about that and especially too when we were going through the audition process, that was one of the big things that we were looking for. Not only are they a great actor or so on and so forth, but how creative are they? And so we kind of added that into the audition process to kind of see how creative they can get with the character. And that was usually a good indicator for us to know, oh, okay. So they, for one, not only are they great at what they do, but they're really good and they approach everything with a creative mindset. And so when we did our table read session, it was, and this is, I will say to this day that it's just by far the most talented cast. They're amazing, every single individual. I can go every single name. They're amazing. They're awesome. And it's one of those moments where you go into the table read session, we went through the lines, and then the second half, I mean, it was just like everything was clicking. I've never seen such as far as great chemistry amongst the different cast members. But then even to going through the story, everyone's like, hey, I have this. Especially to Lindsay Lewis is hilarious. She brought a really good kind of help raise that bar on the comedy part of the film.
Okay, totally.
And then Juliette, who's also very talented, Juliette Chevelle, she came up with some really great ideas, especially with like the transition between the park and the porch. I mean, I can pretty much everything. There's always some piece in there that came from our actors, and that was something I'm really, really happy about with how that worked.
Everyone had a personality of their own. You could tell their strengths, and I think the table read got us a lot of insight because like Tyler, for instance, would be like, well, if they did this, then that wouldn't make sense, or I think you should use this word instead.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, it was very, very collaborative, and once we started shooting for real, there wasn't a lot that changed. I think we were all pretty succinct in what we were trying to do. So yeah, there's a lot of input from the table read.
Well, I love that. I love the idea of getting the actors in on that kind of finessing process, and the result is great. The cast is fantastic, and you mentioned chemistry, but I really like the anti-chemistry, especially between the character of Adam. From the very beginning, there's something disconnected, and I was feeling it, and you get really hooked into just like watching these interactions continually fail and push up against this.
Yes.
We were kind of going for that too. Like we kind of wanted you to root against Adam from the beginning.
Create that conflict.
That conflict. So
totally.
Great to hear. Thank you.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because Adam, you can't sympathize fully with someone that character does. It's so weird, but also kind of identify with this character. And at the end, I think the conclusion is a bit opaque and it leaves it open-ended. So tell me a little bit about the AI angle, because it's very now and it's very stressful.
Well, the AI thing's always been big with us, just in general, as far as filmmaking. Like Dan's, favorite
sci-fi.
Yeah, like he loves
Really
Blade Runner and like
Ex Machina.
anything Kubrick. Yeah, Ex Machina was a huge one. That brought up the Turing test, and AI has just been really big with us as far as the movies we like. So we had to have something involving that.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting when we wrote this. It was before the huge AI craze kind of came about.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like what we felt, especially with film, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. And like we just mentioned, Blade Runner, Ex Machina, Terminator, all of those are great with that. But like what we thought would be a really cool approach would be having it where it's based on personality, emotions, and sort of detecting from there. And it's, now like today, like you mentioned with AI, especially too with, when people, hey, I need to figure out this question. So now they just go to Chat GPT and just put it in and then get their response. And then they'll send it over to you. And then you don't know if that was real. You don't know if that was really from them. So now you're kind of going through a similar scenario like Adam.
Right.
Really trying to figure out whether it's like is this really authentic, or is this pretty much just someone, an AI just kind of spit out an answer of whatever you think, whatever it thinks that you want. Kind of thing.
Well, it's fascinating that this came before the AI boom, because I feel like you guys really captured that
Yeah.
ambiguity that is now totally a part of everyday life. it's
Yeah.
right on the cusp of that happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we didn't. We were just like it was just kind of the idea and everything around it was just that. Like
There's also a couple of Easter eggs. I don't know if you want to know, but there's some tie-ins to AI and like sci-fi in general that most people probably aren't going to pick up on, but people who really know that genre are probably going to question it. But there's a few Easter eggs around AI. And
I would love to hear them if it's not going to spoil the experience. You think for others?
I mean, a lot of times I call them like kind of like an ode, so to speak, as far as for like, especially too, just because for us personally, those films are such a, I guess we would look at it as far as an impact, so to speak, on the creativity and everything. And especially some of them like growing up, again, prime example, Blade Runner, that it's interesting. It helped me kind of open my mind a little bit to the spectrum, is because especially to like the example of Roy Batty, and what he was looking to do. And then of course going into Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
Right.
And then so I love that as far as kind of that whole, like there's a personal, they all have a feeling, they are wanting to be human, or they want to be recognized. And I think I can kind of, I guess, somewhat relate to that, because it's interesting. There's not really, especially too with some of those films, there's like maybe just a tiny separation. The only thing that is the difference is what they look like physically versus, but in the end, they want to be like us.
Yeah, we have some direct tie-ins, like Todd was alluding to. Like, there's some direct odes to like Blade Runner, like the very beginning, the text that comes up.
Okay.
The void contest in Blade Runner, they have a big briefcase and it looks at the eye. In this, we just have one of the characters holding up a cell phone.
Right.
Which is exact, like we put a graphic in there to replicate what the test was called.
Okay, yeah.
And all the character names are based off of robots from movies and androids. Mm-hmm. So Ash was from Alien, Dolores from Westworld. So
okay, right.
Other names are odes to robots.
I mean, I thought that would be just kind of as a recognition.
Right.
Of just saying.
And the very opening where it says "Don't walk, walk now." That was directly we had to recreate it because there wasn't.
Okay.
But we had to create that as directly from Blade Runner when he's like chasing someone down the street.
And if you like, this was the Easter egg. That text at the very beginning that gives a background, like the world, sets the stage for the world.
Right.
That was written by ChatGPT.
Yeah.
we did that on.
That's probably the only.
We did that on. We did that on purpose.
Right.
We had one written out, but I was like, what would be funny if we threw it into ChatGPT and see what it spelled out. And I was like, oh, it's actually pretty cool. So it's one of those things where we just have we're really big fans of those genres, so we just kind of plugged in our own Easter eggs as ode to that genre.
It's cool to hear you used AI for at least a portion of it, or one because I was curious. I feel like it'd be so great if you then actually use some AI.
Yeah, we had no plans. We're just like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, at least for that. Yeah.
Well, I love the little details. Honestly, those Easter eggs, they do read even if one doesn't pick up on them completely. Right. And I kept finding myself thinking like Dolores, like. Isn't that an Android name? Like, it's collective unconscious.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let me ask you this, guys. It seems like you had a great cast. Things were falling into place. What was that on-set process like? Was the shooting process stressful, easy, fun? What was it like?
Well, yeah, we had a plan to shoot in the backyard. Like, we're kind of low-budget guerrilla style, so we were kind of in the muck for the most of it. Yeah. We tried to shoot our dinner scene outside. And we had rehearsals.
Yeah, we had it blocked and everything.
We had it blocked and everything. And then day of the shoot, it started raining.
Cold. It was so
raining.
Cold.
It was windy. So the microphone was picking up the rain on the tarp. We tried to use blankets. So we basically had to scrap that entire night. And within less than a day, we had to have a brand new set for the dinner table.
To move it inside.
And
then actually, well, for one, I know our actors were very grateful about that, but being it was warmer. But actually, I felt, even though I think the outdoor would have been cool, but I think the way that indoor scene for the dinner, it was actually turned out really good. Or I was really happy with it. But we had to come up with something like
on the fly, like
we had less than 24 hours.
This isn't going to work. So let's everybody come back tomorrow. And we turned our entire living room into a dining room table.
Yeah. But I will say, as far as like the actual filming, that was actually that was pretty smooth. And even too, we had was it in total about 6 actors, so 6 cast members and everything. They again, I think because we had such a great chemistry and how everyone was kind of had like I would say like everyone was bought in, like everyone loved they loved the project. They really wanted to be a part of this. And so that made filming itself and just so smooth. Like
okay. You could try like we did rehearsals too and walkthroughs with the actors, but you could practice as much as you want. But once the day of, right, like some lights weren't working, or we would think
like
of stuff on the fly.
The park scene and like the rando, like huge truck, like just blaring his horn, and I'm like,
you got the Tybo and
Tybo guy just going in the background, and we're like, oh my gosh, if there's anything that's happening, like just it's all happening now. Like every sort of interruption is happening.
People come by asking if we're doing the news, like what's the big story in the park? Like, guys,
relatively smooth, but you definitely had some.
Once we got inside, it was really fun working with that cast because they. Even after the table read, they still were pitching ideas down to the last second.
Oh, excellent.
And Lindsay, she's really great at improv. So we wanted her to go a little bit. So we did that thing that most directors do is like, give us one scripted and then just do whatever. And, the guy that played David, Preston, he just went with her. So that was really great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it seems like, you prepared so much with the cast and you guys worked hard on the pre-production. So when you are thrown these curveballs, you're so much more able to navigate because you don't have to do all this other stuff. I mean, that's great advice for any film, but especially independent filmmakers who are frequently pushing up against tight restrictions and budget. Well, so tell me, what did you guys learn from this process? Did you take away any new insights on writing, directing, filmmaking in general, acting, anything?
Well, I guess I'll start. And if I learned anything and I was going to give any advice, is don't neglect the sound. We would have had this thing done months before, but we used the wrong mics. We used the bigger mics that are meant for outdoors, inside, so we're picking up all kind of reverb.
Oh no!
And then when you do ADR, use the same mic that you used on production, so it doesn't have this weird bass shift.
Oh right.
That's a big one. I think sound. You just got to pay attention to that. That's mainly what I learned.
Yeah, inside joke. This guy hates reverb, so we always laugh every time. He's like, the reverb.
Yeah, I was like, get moving towels on the floor because we were shooting on the tile floor. I was like these windows got to go.
Oh my gosh. So I would say, as far as I don't know. Well, actually, I think the biggest thing is trying instead of because we spent so long on the script, like us three. I think I would actually like to get it in front of the cast quicker because I think where a lot of the things like the hurdles and obstacles, because we were just so much kind of our heads were together in a room, and then all of a sudden just spending was it 2.5 hours with the cast, and all of a sudden like that was the things that we were trying to figure out. We give it in front of them and they're like, oh yeah, well, you should do this, and we're like, why did we not think of that? We spent months trying to figure this out. And so that's kind of the one thing I think, and especially too, will apply for this next project is try to get some cast like involved as soon as possible so we can get that process going faster or a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jack. I think because we were in the thick of it post-production wise. Yeah, sound was huge. Yeah, I think like sound. Because I think a lot of people kind of take it for granted. They just kind of hear it, but once you're in it, we recreated every single sound. We recreated all the dialogue.
Wow.
Mixed and mastered. And then when we thought we were in a good place, we would get some new speakers. Or we figure out all the speakers we have weren't good enough because we have very high bars for ourselves. We're very meticulous. We want the best possible kind of outcome. So we kept we would upgrade along the way, but because of that, we realized what we just did wasn't good enough, so we had to do it all over again. So now we're at a really good spot, but it took a lot of trial and error and figuring out what does and doesn't work to get up to the level that we were satisfied with. But if we just gotten the proper stuff from the get-go, like we would have saved.
Yeah, we did the whole entire first mix on headphones, and then when we played it on some Yamahas that we just got, there was no bass whatsoever. Like when someone slams on the table, it sounded like paper hitting the table.
Oh yeah,
it was bad.
So,
Well, this is good, actionable advice, especially the sound thing. And it's like everyone's least favorite part, unless you're a sound nerd. You just want to
Right,
shoot on the
right.
camera because it looks great and it's cool and instantly enjoyable. But yeah, so many productions have mentioned difficulties with sound, and yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the filmmakers out there. Sound is
Yeah.
yeah, 1000%.
well. This is great. You guys can use these things, and especially you got geared up. You got some equipment. That's good.
Yes.
Then let me know, what is the next project you guys are working on?
Yeah, I'm super stoked about this next project. Actually, we have a few. I would say, so it's kind of funny because it's especially too the way film and TV and it's kind of now turning into a, I would say, frowned upon with the whole prequels, sequels, episodic nature or whatever.
Right.
So we have a couple spinoffs in mind, but they are completely different. So they're going to be based on like individual characters from who invited the robots, but they're going to be a completely different style, different type of genre. So like one in particular that I'm really excited about, it's going to be a horror film focus and everything, because I'm a huge horror film buff. I always wanted to do one, and so super stoked about that. We've actually already got started on the casting a little bit on that. But yeah, so that's kind of at least what we have in mind, because again, it's something just from observation, just seeing where a lot of these, anyone that does like these prequels and sequels and all that, they're usually repetitive or redundant on how they do jokes and how the feeling of the films. And I think especially too now, people are tired of that, and so like especially one of my favorites is Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. Now 10 Cloverfield Lane is completely different from the first one. It's got a completely different style as far as, but it still has like some of that sci-fi horror element, just a little bit.
Totally.
Completely different type of film. And so that's kind of why with this next one, it's based on a character from Who Invited the Robots, but I'm just super stoked about diving into that and everything.
We're also throwing around the idea of like a Mirror and Ash spinoff, but make it like a comedy, because they're the complete opposite. Like,
yeah, almost like a game night kind of thing with it, where because they're so aggressive and angry. It'd be fun to put them in a situation where they're around all these happy humans and see how
Guess
they
we're
handle
giving it away then.
I mean, that's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, they'll see the trailer eventually.
Right.
I
love that. That sounds great. So you're kind of taking the the general world of Who Invited the Robots, and you're kind of just exploring what that umbrella can yield.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
very cool.
and they'll be standalones. Like that's the other part too. I want to like make sure, like, because I don't want the audience to feel like they have to do homework and watch this one film. They can watch one or the other or whatever order, because that's the other thing. I don't want people to feel like, oh, I gotta do this in order to enjoy this film. Like, no, you can enjoy their own. But if you do, then you get kind of the full thing. But again, you don't have to watch one in order to understand the other. Kind of
Totally.
thing.
Well, I love that, because Who Invited the Robots already kind of opens up into a very rich world. It's what do you call it? Like near future. It's sort of there's elements that are completely familiar, and then elements that are like, oh, okay. So that's cool. It's a really great landscape, I think, to play with. And I'm excited that you guys have momentum on these projects, because I'd love to see some more.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And I really want to ask also about Broken Spoke Film House, which I assume is your guys' production house. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think we were just kicking around we've been friends forever. We like making, content, videos, music videos, shorts. Yeah, I think we were just, I don't know, we got together and threw around some names, and I think everyone can have their own idea of what broken spoke is. Like for me, it's a wheel, right? If you have a broken spoke, it doesn't quite go all the way.
Right.
So, but then again, if it also is broken, it can be fixed. So for me, it's just that kind of metaphor of if it's broken, it doesn't quite work out. You kind of need all the pieces together for it to
totally.
be successful. So for me, that's kind of what broken spoke is.
And that's the thing. It's interesting because we have our different interpretations, which is good, and that's actually what we want it to be, because we're different. I mean, we'll be honest. I see it as far as the name itself. Broken Spoke is such an iconic name, obviously, with the Broken Spoke Saloon over here in Austin and everything. and how that was such a huge impact on the music. A lot of up and coming artists or artists that are big now, they came through Brooksville or at least played there. And the way I saw it, or the way we even too see it, I should say, is to kind of think of us kind of the same way. You know, it's anybody there, you know, because we've had, was it Tyler? This was his first time acting in a film. We had people who are experienced. Shannon, who's fantastic. She's been doing film for a while, and but at the same time, like, we wanted it to be a place where you can come in, show your, you know, your skills, but then also to your creativity and everything else. Not to feel like where you're in a, you know, we have a strict regimen or anything like that. It's a place where you can, you know, no judgment, do what you feel, say what you feel like, what's on your mind or whatever. This is a place to kind of develop wherever you feel that you want to work on, especially too in an actor's perspective. And then even too, we worked with a local music producer here in Austin. We try to keep it as local as we can.
Very cool.
Because the other part too is just because there's so many talented artists here in Austin. We just wanted to be an outlet for them.
Excellent. Well, I like that. Do you have a similar interpretation? Do you have a divergent one, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the name goes, I didn't really have much input on that, but I've been trying to do get into film in some way or another for a long time, and I didn't really have anyone else to kind of push me forward. So I was thinking about going the animation route. So I learned everything I could about like Maya and Houdini and Blender and all those kind of things. So I was going to just go off on my own, but I was starting to become friends with Dan, and we were hanging out at a Ren fair, at the Sherwood Forest Ren fair close by, and we just got to we were talking, and Dan's like, yeah, I'm an actor, I'm trying to get back into it, and he told me about this stair climbing movie that he did a while back, and I saw it. I was like, this is perfect. It's not like high budget, but it's really entertaining, and it's done like a mockumentary fashion. So then we started talking. We're like, let's just do something. I don't care really what it is. Let's just start going. And it turned into, well, we had some ideas that didn't quite work out. I still love the ideas, but we had like cheap cameras with not even real lenses. It like came with lenses attached, like camcorders, and it was like, I wanted to do like color correction and stuff, and I couldn't. It was like banding. So we're like, all right, let's just get some real film equipment and start going.
Totally.
Now we got, was it a Sony F55?
Yeah, we just got the Sony F50. We did the last project or this one in a Blackmagic Pocket 6K.
Oh, nice.
And like I was saying earlier, one of our all combined favorite movies is Ex Machina, and it was filmed on a Sony F65 and 55. So we're like, all right, if we're going big, let's go with something that does raw, like real raw.
Totally.
And let's just go with that because we know it looks amazing. So that's our next projects are going to be with that camera.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, and I think the Blackmagic Pocket 6 looks great on Who Invited the Robots.
Yeah.
And what I love your guys' crew. I love this strong team. I love the collaboration, and the ideas that you guys have going forward are very exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think I'm really looking forward to putting on Who Invited the Robots on October 14th at the Texas Short Film Festival. I think people will be,
They'll be there.
and you're gonna get a lot of different opinions on like what's really going on.
Good.
It's gonna be entertained.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Well, yeah, thank you guys so much, and looking forward to seeing a lot more from you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Most
Thanks so much for the
definitely.
time.
Take care.